July 12, 2022, 9:03 a.m., Seattle, Washington. A mother faces a detective in a windowless room. Case files cover the table. 7 years earlier, on July 18, 2015, a family vacation in Curacao collapsed. 2 relatives vanished within minutes. No ransom. No goodbye. What happened to 19-year-old Jenna Parker? Today, a formal review begins. 7 years later, a new lead will force this cold file open. We will follow logs, receipts, and timelines, not rumors or hope. Who called her last, and why at 2:51 p.m.? The meeting starts on time. Detective Ryan Cole states the limits and opens the binder. The case is active, limited resources. Jurisdiction stalled the first push. A cruise ship in international waters. A disappearance on an island outside U.S. authority. Handoffs lagged. Small gaps became a wall. Lauren Parker takes notes. Facts matter more than feelings. They rebuild day 0 by the minute. July 18, 2015, 2:41 p.m., Atrobanda waterfront, Curacao. The Parkers finish drinks at a cafe near the port. Jenna asks for a short walk alone. She is 19, 5'8", with a faint scar at her left brow. Michael steps out to make a call and check the pier. Lauren pays the bill. At 2:55 p.m., the cafe receipt prints. At 2:57 p.m., Michael appears on a street camera near a souvenir stall. After that, both drop from view. Ship security logs show Lauren reboarding at 5:12 p.m. under crew direction. No one sees Jenna or Michael at the gangway after 3 p.m. Keycard records for both go idle at 2:43 p.m. Jenna's U.S. phone pings a tower near the market at 2:48 p.m., then dies. Michael's phone attempts an outbound call at 2:51 p.m., connects for 2 seconds and ends. The ship departs at sunset. Cole reads the early decision log. Search scope split between ship and shore. Customs, cruise security, and island police each ran a slice. No single command held the timeline. The first 48 hours pass without a suspect or clean witness. By day 5, the case is spread thin. Tip lines flood with noise. One caller swears he saw Jenna in Aruba. Another demands money to escort her home. Both are false. Forensic leads exist. A tourist video shows a white van pausing in a lane near the port at 2:52 p.m. The clip is brief and shaky. The plate is unreadable. A shadow moves at the curb, then the van rolls on. In 2015, that meant little. In 2022, software can stabilize and measure. Cole notes the lane angle, the pause length, and the vans make family. They audit onboard systems. Jenna's cabin key never reactivates. Her dining reservation at 6:30 p.m. is a no-show. Michael's muster check also fails. Crew rosters list 2 temporary dock laborers hired at Curacao that day. Both left the contract within a week. Their files are incomplete. HR never captured full addresses. Cole is careful with language. He does not declare a homicide. He does not close the door on abduction. He marks unknown event and circles the gap between 2:47 and 2:58 p.m. That window holds everything. He requests a fresh Interpol query and asks for Dutch police summaries from 2015. He also requests a geofence feasibility review with local authorities. Timing matters in a 7-year file. The meeting breaks for coffee at 9:57 a.m. Lauren studies the bulletin board. She has hung the same poster in 3 states and 2 countries. She keeps a stack by her door. Tape in the car. Cole returns with a plan. He will keep the file open through the quarter. He will push the van clip to a lab. He will press for the dock worker records. He will call the cruise line again. Lauren nods once. She asks one question. What if someone saw her and said nothing? Cole does not answer. At 10:11 a.m., her phone rings. The ID reads Amsterdam, Netherlands. The voice is female, firm, and precise. She says she worked in the US and knows Jenna's face from old posters. She believes she saw that face last night in a bar near a canal. She has already filed a report. Lauren freezes, then breathes, then listens again. What turns a rumor into a lead worth crossing an ocean? Detective Ryan Cole confirms the Amsterdam call with Interpol USNCB at 10:19 a.m. The caller gives her name as Sophia van Dijk. She files a report with Amsterdam police at 7:52 a.m. local time. She describes a woman with blue eyes and a faint brow scar. Height 5'8". Blonde hair, shoulder length. She says the woman stayed near a bar off a canal and left with a muscular man. She did not approach. She feared escalation. Cole runs a fast conflict check. No ransom emails ever arrived in 2015. No verified Jenna sightings made it past triage. This call is different. It is specific, recent, and documented. He asks for the incident number in Amsterdam. He notes the address, the time, and the direction of travel. West toward the Ring Road. Lauren listens, then asks for the next step. Cole keeps it simple. Wait for Amsterdam to recheck the block in daylight. Push a request through Interpol for any CCTV. Ask for a short-term watch on the bar. He does not promise an arrest. He does not overstate. He marks the lead actionable. He also reopens old technical tasks. A stabilization pass on the 2015 white van clip. A license plate enhancement. A shape match for the headlight spacing. A time to corner estimate using lane length and the 47-second stop. He files a request to Curaçao Police for a geofence feasibility memo. The window is 2:47 p.m. to 2:58 p.m. on July 18, 2015. He asks if any retained tower logs exist. He checks with the cruise line for 2 contract dock workers who left within a week. He requests their background files again. At 11:06 a.m., Lauren's phone buzzes with a WhatsApp text from Sophia. It contains the Amsterdam incident number, the officer's surname, and a rough map pin. It also includes a short remark. The same woman may have been seen 2 weeks ago on the next block. That prior caller refused to give a name. The note was archived. Lauren decides to fly. Cole objects to a solo trip. He cites risk. He asks her to wait for a green light. She does not argue, but she books a seat anyway. Seattle to Amsterdam, 1 stop. Departure at 2:40 p.m. She sends the itinerary to Cole. He forwards it to the Amsterdam contact. He asks them to meet her at the airport or confirm a safe route. He requests that Sophia avoid further contact on the street. If you follow unsolved cases and cold files like this, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next update. Cole turns back to the lab requests. He adds a face analytics task for Jenna's 2014 passport photo. He asks for comparison to any person seen on Canal side cameras last night from 8 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. He does not assume identity from a look. He asks for gait features and proportional ratios. He sets a hard note, no contact attempts by civilians. At 12:32 p.m., Amsterdam replies. Patrol checks the bar. Staff deny knowledge. Cameras inside are private and not shared without a warrant. Cameras on the street exist, but access requires a written request. An officer agrees to watch the area for 1 hour at dusk. They ask if the mother is inbound. Cole confirms. Lauren boards at 2:29 p.m. She carries a folder. It holds Jenna's dental chart, the original poster, and the cafe receipt. The receipt amount and timestamp are highlighted. She also prints a 1-page timeline. It lists minute marks from 2:41 p.m. to 3 p.m. and the last ping at 2:48 p.m. She adds Michael's failed call at 2:51 p.m. She keeps the list visible to think, not to grieve. During the layover, Cole messages her an update. The lab stabilized the van clip. The pause is 49 seconds, not 47. The rear left lens shows a cracked cover. The vehicle class aligns with a model sold widely in 2012 to 2016. The plate remains unreadable. A tourist video from the same lane exists. The channel owner took it down in 2016. An archive copy may still sit in a cloud backup. Lauren lands at 7:58 p.m. local time. Her phone struggles to connect, then sinks. Sophia texts that she is in the arrivals hall. She will hold a folded city map, not a sign. Lauren clears passport control, exits customs, and scans the crowd. A woman waves the map once and lowers it. They introduce themselves with a single handshake. They walk to the parking structure. Sophia outlines what she saw. The woman looked subdued. The man kept a hand near her elbow. They did not hurry. They cut across a narrow lane toward a back door. Sophia did not see a car. She noted a bright sign near the corner but could not recall the name. Lauren asks for one favor. Before any visit to the police station, they will pass that block. They will not knock. They will not call out. They will only look. Sophia nods and starts the car. The navigation shows a 31-minute drive into the center. What detail on that block will matter more than any memory? They reach the center at 8:41 p.m. local time. The car stops 2 blocks from the canal. Traffic is slow. Pedestrians move in small groups. Lauren and Sophia walk the last stretch. They pass a sign for a Desert's Achterbergwall. Bars line the water. Music leaks from open doors. The air is humid and sharp. Sophia slows near a corner. She points to a narrow lane beside a lit doorway. The sign above the glass reads Neon Harbor. Lauren notes the time. 8:49 p.m. She also notes a fixed camera on the opposite wall. Angle faces the door and a side alley. A man stands inside near a podium. He watches everyone who pauses. They do not enter. They cross the alley once, then again. No shouting. No wave. Lauren keeps her hands at her sides. At 8:53 p.m., a woman appears behind the glass. Blonde hair to the shoulder. Blue eyes. A faint line at the left brow. Height near 5'8". She sits, then looks down, then looks up. Her focus drifts. Lauren freezes, then steps closer by instinct. The podium man opens the door at once. He asks them to move. The tone is firm. He says no photos, no tapping on glass. He says leave the frontage. Lauren says nothing for 3 seconds. Then she says she needs police. Sophia dials 112 and reports a possible missing person sighting. She gives the address, the sign name, and the lane. At 9:01 p.m., 2 uniformed officers turn the corner. One speaks Dutch with Sophia. One speaks English with Lauren. The manager arrives from inside. He asks for calm. He says the woman in the window is an adult with a legal work permit and a Dutch ID. He gives a name, Aaron Jansen. He says no crime is happening. He says they cannot block the door. The officers separate everyone by a few steps. They request IDs. Sophia shows her passport card. Lauren shows her U.S. driver's license. The manager shows a company pass. The podium man gives his wallet. Inside is a stun device receipt from a shop in the city, dated 4 days earlier. A pocket search yields a small taser. Serial number intact. The officer logs it and places it in an evidence pouch. The manager protests. He says it belongs to security. The officer keeps it for verification. At 9:06 p.m., the woman from the glass is escorted into a side office. She walks on her own, but slowly. An officer asks if she needs medical help. She answers with short phrases and misses a few words. The officer requests a clinic run for evaluation. A second unit arrives. They bring a tablet to scan IDs. The woman's Dutch card scans as valid. Name, Aaron Jansen. Birth year places her in her mid-20s. The officer does not make an identity call on the sidewalk. Lauren asks to speak one sentence through the doorway. The officer declines. He says all contact will wait until the clinic. He asks Lauren to give a printed photo to log with the report. She hands over Jenna's 2014 passport photo. The officer compares the brow scar and the eye color. He notes possible match, not confirmed. Sophia points the officers to a mounted camera facing the alley. She also shows a phone photo she took of the street earlier. It captures a reflection of the Neon Harbor sign in a puddle and, at the far edge, a white hatchback with a dented rear light. The officer flags it for later. He asks the manager whether the business has a rear exit. The manager says yes, for staff safety. He says it is alarmed. The officer asks to see the alarm log. The manager says the system provider holds it off-site. At 9:19 p.m., the clinic vehicle departs with the woman and 2 officers. The manager steps back inside. The podium man stays put. The first patrol car remains at the curb. The second car circles the block. The alley is briefly clear. Lauren looks at the window. The chair is empty now. She checks her phone. No new messages from Detective Cole. 2 plainclothes officers arrive and speak with the uniformed team. One goes inside to collect the sign-in sheet and the nightly roster. One walks the alley and photographs the external camera. They record serials, angles, and a time baseline by filming a synchronized clock on a phone at 9:27 p.m. They capture a ceiling camera inside the lobby facing the door and the lane. Dispatch calls back at 9:31 p.m. The clinic reports the woman is alert but sedated. She will be medically cleared before any interview. A staff member has secured the ID and personal items. A preliminary check on the Dutch ID number returns a civil registry record. 2 lines down, a cross-reference appears. It points to a name change request filed years ago. An officer steps aside to take the second dispatch call. He returns to Lauren and Sophia. He speaks carefully. He says there is an administrative note. He cannot release full details here. He asks Lauren to come to the station as soon as they finish on scene. He repeats that the clinic remains the first stop. Sophia opens her map and suggests the nearest station. Lauren nods and thanks the officers. She looks once more at the empty chair. She takes back the copy of the poster and holds it flat against her jacket to keep it dry. What former name could be hidden behind a valid Dutch card? The clinic intake begins at 9:46 p.m. Amsterdam time. A nurse checks vitals, records speech patterns, and looks for acute risk. An officer inventories items from the woman's small bag. A Dutch ID card. A prepaid phone without a SIM. 20 euros in coins. No narcotics. No wallet. The nurse orders fluids and a toxicology screen. She notes delayed responses and narrowed attention. The woman gives her current name as Erin Jansen. She agrees to basic questions but asks for breaks. Lauren waits in a small room with a duty officer. She provides Jenna's 2014 passport photo and dental summary. The officer scans both into the case file. He underlines left brow scar, 1 centimeter. He lists height and eye color. He records U.S. hometown and prior school. He marks possible match pending. Sophia stays nearby but steps back during medical steps. At 10:07 p.m., a second officer arrives with a tablet. He reads a civil registry hit. A name change petition was filed 4 years earlier. The petition shows Jansen with 1 S originally, later amended to Jansen. The filing used a temporary address in Zuid-Holland and a supporting letter from a private clinic. The clinic closed in 2021. The officer flags the clinic as a future site check. The interview starts at 10:19 p.m. A camera records. A Dutch officer leads. An English-speaking officer supports. The woman confirms the Dutch ID details. Birth year places her in her mid-20s. She says she works irregular shifts and does not keep a calendar. She asks why the police are here. The officer explains a citizen report and the need to confirm identity and safety. He asks if she will consent to fingerprints. She nods once. At 10:28 p.m., prints are taken on a live scanner. The system returns no match in Dutch records. The officer adds a U.S. compare request through liaison channels. That process will take time. The woman rubs her hands and asks for water. The nurse returns and verifies stable vitals. Toxicology is pending. The officer explains they will continue with low-pressure questions. Lauren asks for a supervised greeting. The officer allows a brief, controlled introduction. The door opens at 10:41 p.m. Lauren steps in with the passport photo visible. She speaks 1 sentence. "I'm Lauren, Jenna's mother." The woman looks at the photo and then at Lauren. She does not answer. The officer closes the door gently. The nurse suggests waiting for toxicology results before further contact. At 10:58 p.m., a dispatcher calls the clinic. The civil registry returns a supplemental note. The name change file includes a redacted copy of a U.S. birth certificate. The issuing state matches Jenna's. A second note references a prior identity known to foreign authority. The annotation is generic and does not display the name. The officer writes, Contact U.S. immediately. Detective Ryan Cole receives the update at 2:03 p.m. Seattle time. He forwards Jenna's fingerprints from a prior school employment check, taken with consent years ago. He attaches the brow scar description again. He requests an expedited cross-compare. He tells Amsterdam Lauren is present by invitation and will follow clinic and station rules. The nurse clears the woman for a longer session at 11:17 p.m. The English-speaking officer returns. He asks for a simple timeline of 1 day in 2015. The woman hesitates, then answers in short pieces. She mentions an island market, a hot afternoon, and a white van at a curb. She says a man tried to stop the door. She says there were multiple men and that she lost track. She does not mention names. She stops and asks to rest. The officer ends the session and sets a new block after midnight. Outside the room, Lauren speaks with the officer. She provides the cafe receipt timestamp, the ship keycard idle time, and the 2:51 p.m. call attempt. The officer writes each figure and circles the 11-minute window. He notes the 49-second van pause from the stabilized clip. He requests the clip when available. He sets a patrol unit to seek the white hatchback with the dented rear light near Neon Harbor. At 11:46 p.m., a partial toxicology read returns. Sedatives present, non-lethal range. The nurse advises spacing interviews by at least 30 minutes. The officer agrees. He asks one more pointed question before the break. Has anyone used a specific name around you in the past? The woman looks at the table and answers slowly. They called someone Ilya. She is unsure of the last name. She repeats the first name once and stops. Lauren's hands tighten around the folded poster. She says nothing. The officer writes it down and underlines it. He asks if anyone used a second name for the same person. The woman thinks and says, Soren. She does not know the spelling. She asks if she can sleep. The officer ends the block and thanks her. Cole receives the Ilya note at 2:47 p.m. Seattle time. He checks a watch list. He does not share results by text. He asks for the exact phrasing and the context. The Amsterdam officer replies with the sentence and time stamp. He logs the note under possible controller. Lauren stands in the hallway and looks at the clinic door. The officer tells her the next step is a formal statement when the woman is fully alert. He reminds everyone that identity must be confirmed by process, not hope. The nurse dims the lights in the interview room and sets a new check for midnight. If Jenna's name is buried in a petition, whose name is protecting it now? At 12:07 a.m., the taser is logged at the lab. The serial number is clean and legible. Amsterdam police forward a purchase inquiry to the retailer named on the receipt. The store confirms a sale on July 8, 2022. Payment used a prepaid card. A camera still shows the buyer in a dark cap and jacket. Height near 6 feet. Build heavy. The clerk remembers a slight accent. The buyer declined a warranty. A financial unit checks the card's top-up history. The card was loaded with cash at a kiosk near Central Station. The same kiosk appears on 2 other small transactions. One is a laundromat. One is a corner market. Both sit within a 10-minute walk of Neon Harbor. The pattern suggests short-term use and nearby living quarters. At 12:29 a.m., Chamber of Commerce records surface. The property lessee of Neon Harbor is a shell company registered in 2020. The director is Bulgarian and lists a Rotterdam mailbox. The company's filings are minimal. No staff are declared. The leaseholder name appears on 2 other addresses that closed within a year. One is a former bar. One is a short-stay rental. A plainclothes team knocks on the rental. The door is locked. The lights are off. A neighbor says a white hatchback with a dented rear left light parks here sometimes. The plate is foreign. She does not know the country. She saw 2 men carry boxes inside last month. She has not seen women enter. Detective Ryan Cole pushes on the Curacao side. He renews the geofence feasibility question. He asks again for retained tower logs near the Port Ring Road between 2:40 p.m. and 3 p.m., July 18, 2015. He attaches the stabilized van clip and timestamps. He asks for any customs photos of temporary dock laborers. At 12:58 a.m. Amsterdam time, the clinic clears the woman for a short follow-up. The officer asks about locations used between 2017 and 2019. She names 2 edges of Amsterdam. She describes a garage door with peeling blue paint and a window with tape across the corner. She mentions a room near a rail line with a red metal stair. These are simple markers. They give the search team 2 targets. A quick warrant covers the nearest site. The team finds a storage room behind a false wall. Inside, there is a desk, a chair, and files. One file is a roster with first names and dates. A second is a laminated sheet with codes. SP 2015 is printed in block letters on the top row. The officer photographs everything. He bags the roster. He follows label procedures. He notes a small safe bolted to the floor. The safe opens at 1:37 a.m. with a drill under judicial authorization. It holds 3 prepaid phones, 2 SIM cards, and a list of short numbers. The list shows country codes for the Netherlands, Germany, and the Czech Republic. One note mentions Prague 2021. The officer scans the phone's emails and lifts microSD cards. A forensic unit will image them before any power on. Cole runs the Ilya and Soren names through FBI indices. He does not broadcast hits. He sends a formal request to Amsterdam for voice recordings if available. He wants to compare any recovered audio to known samples. He also asks for the exact text of the laminated codes. He asks if any camera inside Neon Harbor captured the podium man using a radio or phone. At 1:55 a.m., a patrol returns to the rental address. The white hatchback is back. The rear left light is dented. The plate is Polish. The car is cold. No one is inside. The team calls for a tow under authority for unregistered business use. The tow truck arrives at 2:12 a.m. The rear hatch smells of cleaning fluid. No visible stains. The trunk contains a cheap toolkit and 2 new bulbs. The lab starts a quick sweep. Swabs are taken from the trunk and handles. The bulbs have no prints. The toolkit shows partials. They will go into AFIS. The glove box holds a manual in Polish with dealership stamps from 2014. A folded parking receipt shows a Canal Street date stamp 2 weeks earlier. Time: 9:07 p.m. Location: 3 blocks from Neon Harbor. Overnight, Seattle forwards Jenna's prints. Amsterdam submits them with priority. A civil registry official confirms the name change petition included a U.S. birth certificate copy. The numbers align with Jenna's state. The official asks whether a victim advocate is assigned. The officer nods and says yes. At 2:39 a.m., the second site check starts. The blue garage door is real. The window shows old tape across the corner. Inside, a ledger lists payments to security, rent, and utilities. Several entries match the prepaid top-ups near Central. One line reads VS next to a July 8th cash withdrawal. Another line reads IS next to a December transfer. Cole sends one final message before he sleeps. He wants the taser model cross-checked with any seizure in Prague in 2021. He also asks whether SP 2015 could refer to Seattle Parker, 2015. Who wrote SP 2015, and what did they expect it to hide? By 3:12 a.m., the ledger and phones reach the digital lab. A technician images the microSD cards. File names include short numeric strings. One folder holds cropped screenshots of chat apps. The dates range from 2018 to 2022. Several entries show payments labeled security within days of July 8, 2022. A contact saved as VS appears across threads. Another is IS. The same 2 initials match the handwritten ledger lines at the blue garage. At 4:05 a.m., the retailer confirms the taser is the same model seized in Prague in 2021. The serial numbers differ, but the vendor network overlaps. Amsterdam police flag the match as context only. They do not overstate it. They add it to the request package for a European arrest warrant. The Prague seizure file mentions a first name, Ilya. At 6:40 a.m., fingerprints from Seattle arrive in full resolution. The liaison office runs a rapid compare. A A technician signs the match at 7:02 a.m. The woman known as Erin Jansen is Jenna Parker. The match uses multiple points, including the left index and right thumb. The officer calls the clinic at once. He asks the nurse to prepare a quiet room. The notification is simple. Lauren is present. An officer reads the finding and the time stamp. Jenna hears it and goes still. She nods one time. The nurse lets mother and daughter speak briefly with an advocate in the room. No details of abuse are discussed. The session lasts under 5 minutes. The officer schedules a formal statement for the afternoon. Detective Ryan Cole receives the print confirmation at 10:21 p.m. Seattle time. He forwards a short note to his chief. He thanks Amsterdam and requests chain of custody documents for the ledger, the phones, and the taser. He also asks about the white hatchback swabs. The lab reports a partial profile from the trunk latch. It is not Jenna's. It is male. It will be compared later. On August 3, 2022, Dutch authorities execute synchronized warrants at 2 addresses. Officers detain the podium man and the registered manager at Neon Harbor. The manager gives his real name under caution. He is not the Bulgarian director of the shell company. He is a subcontractor paid in cash. His phone contains short videos of the lobby on busy nights. One clip shows the podium man using a radio and saying Victor twice. The audio is clear. By mid-August, Interpol notices circulate for 2 additional names connected to the ledger. One is a courier who moved cash between bars. One is a property fixer. The property fixer leaves the country by rail. German police stop him on a traffic violation near Leipzig. He carries 2 phones and a piece of paper with 7 short numbers. One number matches the list from the safe. He is held for extradition on Dutch fraud grounds. Curaçao answers the geofence question with limits. Tower retention from 2015 is no longer available. A customs photograph of temporary dock laborers is located in a contractor's archive. One worker has a shoulder tattoo that appears in a 2015 tourist video. The HSI attaché flags it for identity work. No names are released publicly. In late August, the Blue Garage yields another file. A laminated sheet contains codes in 3 columns. The top row reads SP 2015. Below it, 2-letter tags match country codes. The tags align with several ledger dates. An analyst writes a short memo. SP is consistent with Seattle Parker in this case context. The memo is careful and uses conditional language. On September 2, 2022, Viktor Sokolov is arrested during a morning check at the rental address. He is carrying the same prepaid card used at the taser store. He holds a phone with a fresh eSIM. His fingerprints match partials on the toolkit from the white hatchback. He asks for a lawyer. He declines to answer questions. He is charged with trafficking-related offenses under Dutch law, plus possession of a prohibited device. Jenna gives a recorded statement over 2 sessions in early September. She confirms the name Ilya was used by higher-level handlers. She saw him only once, in 2016, in a van doorway. She never learned his last name. She describes 2 safe flats used to move women between jobs. Addresses match the ledger and the map found near the safe. She consents to DNA sampling to exclude her from mixed traces. She enters a victim support program with trauma care, detox support, and legal guidance. All sessions are private. Cole's team closes Jenna's U.S. missing person entry as located, victim of crime. Michael Parker's status remains open with Curaçao authorities. There is no graphic discussion of his fate. The file notes violent interference suspected based on consistent facts. The cruise line receives a new subpoena for dockworker contracts and vendor lists. Compliance improves under public pressure. By spring 2023, Dutch prosecutors finalize the first set of charges. Victor remains in custody. The manager accepts a plea on lesser counts and agrees to testify on shell company rentals. The property fixer is extradited and charged in the Netherlands. The courier is arrested in Prague on a Dutch warrant after a traffic stop. The name Ilya Sorin appears in encrypted chats recovered from one phone. The message content is brief and uses code. The pattern is enough for an arrest request but not a conviction. A European arrest warrant issues in mid-2023. Soren is not found by year's end. The warrant remains active. Jenna's legal identity is restored in Dutch records. The name change petition is annotated with her US birth certificate data and the fingerprint confirmation. She receives protected contact information and new travel documents. Lauren stays in Amsterdam for 6 weeks. Then she returns to Seattle with her daughter. Their schedule is medical visits, court briefings, and rest. The last open question falls to a small detail. The laminated sheet lists SP 2015 with a circle. The circle is drawn twice. What was circled the night Michael tried to pull a van door open?